Welcome to the Red Pill Nation Hangout number 436. We're right smack in the middle of the Canadian election. So, unfortunately, well, maybe not unfortunately, but Rearson, I was able to snag Rearson away from the aliens who were probing him, and he's back on the show. They'll probably find him and get him back to their mothership once the show's over. But for now, he belongs to me. I am your
so wrong. That is absolutely wrong on so many fucking levels.
Did he just say that?
Yeah, he did.
That was horrible.
Oh man. When I go back, they better have some Asian looking aliens. That's all I gotta say.
He's gonna give you a lifetime supply of nuts.
And
Canadian nuts galore.
Oh, and speaking of that solution, yes, that's right. Our commercial sponsor is once again, Orange Man Bad Hand Balm. That's right. If you're still not over 2016, if you just cannot stop talking about Orange Man Bad, and you just have to go to the bathroom to jerk off just to get the tension off, Orange Man Bad Hand Balm is the very thing for you. Yes, that's right. No more cherry blisters as you're busy trying to... Orange Man Bad! 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 That's right. So yeah, if you have to go to the bathroom 17 times a day to jerk off to how much you hate Donald Trump, that's right. Orange Man Bad will limit the damage. And also new from Orange Man Inc., of course, there is now Orange Man Deep Tissue Rub. That's right, to prevent those suspicious cases of tendinitis you may get in your shoulder, wrist, or elbow. Suspicious.
Oh, okay.
We are currently developing something to try to minimize the muscle gain.
I never thought of it as this.
For whichever arm you prefer to use much more extensively.
And of course,
and depending upon the results of the Canadian election, we may just have Orange Man Hand Balm made available with the discount code of Pierre for the win.
That's right, folks. Pierre.
Off. Oh, I'll shut up.
That was horrible.
You're welcome.
Just remember, folks, it's a good thing we're not on YouTube anymore, or we would have just lost. It's not our fastest time for losing monetization, I should point out. But it's up there, though. So I am your host. With me tonight, of course, I won't say he's my regular partner in crime, but he's been here almost literally from the beginning. And he's here tonight because, well, there's a strong Canadian component to tonight's show. Rearson, introduce yourself.
Good evening to anybody that's going to be listening at some point in time. Yeah, I'm on for tonight because of the Canadian election. Things have just gotten very interesting. That's all I'm going to say. After the election, I expect that I'm just going to go back into my hibernation state. So
until after the election is over.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So,
well,
yeah, that's what I'm going to say for now. So,
all right, and also tonight with me is Roger Hansen. Roger, introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Roger.
Okay, that was.
Hey, I got a question. Do people really freaking pay attention to the Canadian election up there?
Actually, this one, you'd be surprised. Yeah, there was actually quite a bit of attention.
Oh my God. What will they think of next, man? You'd think like there was like this crazy dude that's trying to run for election. What is it? You guys call him Prime Minister or something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Prime Minister. Yep, that was it. It was the debates were just held. Very interesting results out of that, by the way. And which brings me, of course, to the topics for tonight. The topics for tonight, and of course, we're not starting out with the debate, but the debate is number 2. Topic number 1: CNN gets massive egg on their face when they attack the Manosphere. Oh my God!
What?
You might, I might actually be going on about that one for a while before I turn it over to Roger. But yeah, oh my God, what a.
Well,
I watched the CNN video so that you don't have to.
that bad. Okay, that bad. All right.
Okay, topic number 2: Canadian party leaders debate. It doesn't go well for Carney. Topic number 3: perhaps we should be glad that there's a certain somebody not on tonight. Karmelo Anthony's circus gets worse. Boy, does it ever get worse. Topic number 4: Donald Trump pulls the pin on Harvard's government funding.
Nice.
That one we were kind of expecting. Topic number 5: UK Supreme Court rules that men are not women.
Really?
Yeah, unfortunately, I wish Mark, the other Mark, was here tonight, but he's not. So he gets to miss out on the fun. And topic number 6: Leftists and Democrats double down on the Kilmar Abrego Garcia situation. Oh wow, did that one ever turn out a little bit unexpected? Did that one? I want to say it, man. That one turned out completely unexpected at all. Period. It just came out completely unexpected. So, so with that, I'm just going to timestamp it. Then we're just going to get right into topic number 1, because I'm going to be probably on that one for a very, very long time. Okay, hold on a second here. Now my computer is being very stubborn, is not allowing me to. I have to unlock the number lock. Okay, and then. All right, so topic number 1. Oh, Jesus effing Christ. Holy mackerel. And you wonder why CNN is losing legitimacy. And I got to emphasize to you, it is losing legitimacy where there's just so much. I didn't find out through CNN. I found out because they started posting up stuff about the Manosphere. All the other Manosphere content creators started doing reaction videos to it because, well, it was CNN, right? So, right off the bat, they tried to play the white supremacy card. Let me just. Okay, need I remind you that the most prominent name, the most well-known name in the Manosphere is Andrew Tate, whose dad was black. 2 of the top 3 content creators in the Manosphere are black. The only one of the big Manosphere content creators right now that isn't black right now is the Whatever podcast, which is actually the largest of the group. I'm also going to point out that for the longest time, Kevin Samuels, who was the largest Manosphere content creator, was also black. The guy who did it, and you take a look at him, he looks like a guy who hasn't missed a meal in a very, very long time. Very soft, soy boy feminist look. He actually went, and after they put up photos of Patriot Front, they went over and talked to a guy named Jake Shields. Now, I've seen some of the posts that Jake Shields has made. Jake Shields is not a member of the fucking Manosphere. They really tried very hard to drag MMA into it. Dana White is not a member of the Manosphere, and to my knowledge, there has not been a single prominent member of mixed martial arts that has openly come out in support of the Manosphere. Now, are they aware of it? Yeah, they probably are. a surprisingly large number of people in the in the Manosphere are aware of in mixed martial arts are very, very aware of the Manosphere. However, I know for a fact that not one of them has actually come out and openly endorsed the Manosphere. Although, again, when you're talking about the Manosphere, what you will usually see are people who will talk about they'll talk like they know about it, but it's like, you'll hear them drop certain words or whatever, but they won't actually talk like outright endorse the Manosphere in any real serious capacity. But no, there's like, I mean, yeah. However, there are a lot of guys in the Manosphere that are, and of course, they have this. I'm going to guess 30-something woman who claims that she dated guys in the Manosphere, and I don't know which guys in the Manosphere that she was dating or what she was listening to. Again, right, when you hear guys in the Manosphere talk about each other, they generally discuss things like relationship issues and that type of thing, but they don't. Right, they're not usually. Whoops! What the hell happened there? Okay, I'm bringing. What the hell, man? I can't get that.
What's wrong?
Oh, wait. There we go. Hold on. There we go. Yeah. No, a video just popped up for some reason. I clicked it by accident. Yeah. Massive professional that I am here. So yeah, and of course they brought Jake Shields up because Jake Shields' podcast is very, very similar to Rogan in the fact that Jake Shields will pretty much talk to anybody, right? And of course, the fat little doughboy who was doing the report for CNN tried to twist that around well, even though Jake Shields is not a member of the Manosphere. Then they went over to Patriot Front. I think we all know what Patriot Front is. Patriot Front is a fake AstroTurf campaign being funded covertly by the government. I mean, I don't actually have proof about that, but the way, yeah. The head of it, and he starts talking about white power and all that sort of stuff, and it's like, again, right, Patriot Front has had zero connection to the Manosphere, so they were really trying. And of course, they had that fat, bitter, not say that over post-wall blonde who spent time whining about how guys in the Manosphere are whining about women and that sort of thing. And it's sort of like, I have to point something out here, right? Being critical of how women are acting is not whining. All right? Like, I know the difference. I've been around. I've been in the Manosphere for over a decade now. And I know there is a very distinct difference between quote unquote whining and actual discussion about how women are acting and what they're doing. The whole situation it was just a laugh. It's laughable. But wait, I'm not done. Of course, all of the Manosphere content creators got a hold of it and just ripped it a new one. Again, their attempt to play. Yeah, and of course, they also tried to play the Manosphere off as right wing. And I can tell you, because we were literally just discussing Andrew Wilson on the last show, and Andrew Wilson, who is definitely right wing, but Andrew Wilson has pointed out quite happily that it would be very, very. He has been just as merciless on conservatives as he has been with liberals. it's a lot easier to go after liberals because liberals are just a lot very stupid about the manosphere in general. And this guy was very stupid about it because, again, right, like every single major report that I have seen done on the manosphere by the mainstream media, they didn't bother to do any research. They didn't bother to ask any questions. They didn't bother to uh, even do a rudimentary fact check on Andrew Tate's ethnicity before they played Andrew Tate off and tried to pass off the manosphere as being white supremacist. Now, I also have to point something out here because I am seeing this on the rise in the manosphere. I am definitely seeing, and I actually will be doing a when I get the chance to when I actually find the time to actually do the Naroki 5 live stream, which I might just do tomorrow. I am noticing a sudden increase in spike in black quote unquote manosphere content creators who seem rather intent, I should point out, on trying to play up the race card in regards to the manosphere. And I cannot help because, again, we discussed this a few months ago. Rollo talked about that report from the McCain Institute and about some of the ideas they're going to put out. So yeah, I suspect this is probably the first of a increasingly large number of attacks that the manosphere is going to start to see over the next few months. Again, and I'm also going to point out something else before I turn it over to Roger here. This is the reason why we're going to win. Because these people cannot be bothered to do so much as a rudimentary fact check about what the manosphere is and what the manosphere isn't. Yeah, so yeah, that's the photo of him talking to Jake Shields. The fat boy on the right was the guy who quote unquote on CNN who quote unquote investigated the manosphere. So yeah, you're seeing a lot of this go down, and you're going to see a lot more of this. It's CNN. There's not really that much else I can say about this. This is, wait, there is one other thing I could say about it. I went over to the YouTube, I went over to the CNN when I was watching it. I looked over at the comments section of the CNN video, and a very curious thing happens. There were no negative comments directed in the comment section towards the video. Like none whatsoever, even though this particular video and this particular report has been getting a lot of play in the manosphere. And I look down at it, I'm like going, holy shit, they're actually curating the comments. Like, yeah, they're actually curating the comments over at CNN about this. And oh, by the way, it's also done so badly. This report has done so badly that they are really desperately trying to bury this report as much as they can because it was just so bad. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roger.
I don't really know anything about the manosphere myself. I mean, other than what I know whenever I come on your show and listen to the stuff you talk about, So, I mean, CNN, dude, seriously, like nobody takes CNN serious anymore. Not even the left wing. Really, to be honest with you, when you talk to people who are freaking like leftists, they don't really take them serious anymore either. So it's kind of a joke, to be honest with you. So that's really the best I can come up with when it comes to all that. So I'm gonna But
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't take
the-
CNN very seriously either. But again, right, there's been somebody in the mainstream media did a hit piece on the Manosphere. The Manosphere responded, so that's pretty much what I expected. Rearson, it's up to you. It's off to you.
get them, Merson, get them. See
CNN.
it?
Might as well just call them Cunt News Network because that's really all that they are, and they're even useless ones at that. Oh God. Well, whatever. I mean, let's not forget that it was basically thanks to CNN that they were termed fake news by Trump way back in 2016, and that label has not gone away. And they've seen that doughboy probably has his 3 or 4 soy milk lattes every day just to keep his testosterone levels down. And I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if he was looking at Shield and just kind of go, yeah, I think I'd like to see my girlfriend get boned by this guy. Why not? Because Lord knows I'm sure he hasn't gotten anything good in a while anyway, so... I don't even know what to say about this one anymore, because it just seems to be an ongoing bloody freaking joke as to what... as to how they fumble the ball on this one. But let's be honest here, folks. Anything and everything that they do is... it's a threat to our democracy if you've seen that montage. So they know what they're doing, and they're still going through with it and making it happen anyway. Whatever. I mean, CNN is pretty much at the point of being almost irrelevant now. The most trusted name in news. Yeah, that's just like, Richard Nixon saying, "I'm not a crook. I didn't do anything wrong." You are the problem. Like, I don't know how else to say it. So, whatever. I have nothing to say on this one except I'm not surprised. They've bungled it up. They will continue to bungle it up because, well, if it's anything like what's going on in China with the Manosphere, then yeah, they have every reason to be afraid because women are the gateway, hold the gateway, charge of, what do you want to call it, for intimacy. And if guys don't want to commit, guys don't commit. And I've seen enough content to be very cautious, to say the least, of if and when I decide that I'm going to go back into the dating, I'll make myself available in the dating market. I'm not in any rush to do so right now. But if and when that time comes, I've seen enough content of women that just can't keep their fucking mouth shut, much like the women should keep their mouth shut, that they should keep their legs closed to stop screwing around with the precious time that they have and just don't know when to shut up. So, whatever. Let's move on to number 2. So, Roger, if you've got any questions with all of this, as we're saying,
I did do a search, and all I want to know is who is this freaking hot chick, Vera Papasova, dude? I'd love to go on a fake date with her.
You actually like her? Oh my god!
Dude, she is. I guarantee you, she put out for her story, dude. I guarantee you, she slept with at least 5 of those dudes.
You're talking about like Rachel Gilmore?
No, Vera
not
Papasova.
You have to go over to the actual YouTube CNN channel to see what they're talking about. Yeah, she's not. I mean, she's not. I don't think she's particularly attractive myself.
I bet you she'd be a dirty girl, though. I bet you she would be a dirty girl. Freaking, I bet you, Naroki, she's a dirty girl.
Oh, I don't doubt it. I without getting into too
Does she have
much
boots?
detail, she's got those hoop earrings for one,
See,
right?
that's right. That's right.
Okay.
You know what those are for?
Yeah, the bigger the hoop, the bigger the hoe. But anyway,
Place to put their feet.
I was gonna say the bigger the hoop, the bigger
No, no,
the bigger
the hoops,
the
the hoop
heels are.
earrings are a place for them to put their feet in.
oh yeah. Okay. The other part on this is something that is going to happen more and more frequently, which, by the way, is why the CNN was curating the comments on that video, is because I mean they botched the video. It didn't have, in fact, if anything, what that CNN video did on YouTube was actually just bring more attention to the manosphere. And again, right there, the opposition in this particular case is in a catch-22. They can't ignore it because it's just going to keep growing. They can't. They can't. But if they say anything about it, and specifically if they lie about it, um, they're in even more. In an even bigger hole because people that I mean, yeah, there's got to be a certain number of people, and I see them all. I see white knights coming into the rescue for their fair maidens all the time. But what you're also seeing is you're seeing guys men go in and actually take a look at what's actually being said. And they're noticing it's like, oh, wow, they're actually lying. And then, of course, right. And it's like, and what's also been going on with a lot of this is that a lot of women are starting to encounter this manosphere content when they talk to guys now, because it's part of the vernacular and everybody knows, like, a lot of guys are actually paying attention and are actually watching manosphere content even though they're not yet openly admitting it, right? And so women are starting to encounter this stuff. And well, that was the thing about that blonde chick, is like, I mean, which guys she must have been dating. She must have been dating PUAs, because MGTOWs don't generally date. Incels are not it. Where was she finding these guys to date? That's the thing that really kind of has me scratching my head here. It's like, I mean, keep in mind, like, I mean, based upon your reaction, I mean, you know, some guys would actually consider her to be attractive. I don't.
She's dirty. I said a dirty girl. I didn't say
Yeah.
attractive. Come on, dude. Come on. You gotta. I know you're a little bit older than me, but you gotta keep up with the age, dude. She's a dirty girl. There's a difference.
Okay. Yes, I understand. Okay.
Mediocre tutorials brought up a good thing too when it comes to what's his face Tate. No, they turn around and they wanted to say that he was inside the manosphere, and he brought up a good point. Everything I've ever heard Tate talk about, he doesn't say stuff like that. Like, he doesn't say that he's actually inside the manosphere, and he doesn't make responses like that. So this guy does bring up a good point about that.
Yeah, Tate is Tate. That is probably the best. I heard that. That's what Rolo said about him. Tate is Tate. And um, however, listening to a lot of the stuff that Tate talks about, um, it's definitely Manosphere content. I mean, he doesn't claim. There's a lot of guys now who are making Manosphere content, and they'll walk the walk, they'll talk the talk, they will use old lingo and whatever, but it's like, oh no, but I'm not a member of the manosphere. Well, you know what? If it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, and swims like a duck, then it's a duck, right? You can say you're not, but I mean, again, I have been around enough to recognize when somebody is. Actually, I've been around long enough that when somebody in the mainstream media drops Manosphere content, like I recognize it immediately, right? And these guys are all talking. They're using Manosphere talking points, but they're claiming they're not in the Manosphere. It's sort of like, well, no, dude, like actions speak louder than words, right? Like if you're gonna use Manosphere content, then just say you're in the Manosphere. Just fucking embrace it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like don't hide, right? Tate, Tate has. I believe the reason why Tate doesn't specifically mention the red pill or the Manosphere or whatever is the same reason why, for instance, why what the hell, not Richard Anderson. I can't remember the guy's name. There's a couple of other guys that they'll spew red pill. They will spill Manosphere red pill content, but say, "Oh, I'm not in the Manosphere," and it's like, yeah, you are. Like you're talking, you're using the lingo, right? This is the same. This would be the same thing as a feminist saying, well, no, I'm not like that kind of feminist that talks about how we should kill all men and blah, 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 blah. Well, you know what? You're standing arm in arm with her, with those women. You're saying the same things. You're wearing the same uniform and you're screaming out the same logos and you're using the same language and you're patting these other women on the back. So you say you're not that kind of feminist, but you know your actions in how you are conducting yourself clearly says that you are that kind of a feminist, or that you are a feminist of that, potentially of that stripe. You're at least sympathetic, and you're not willing to rock the boat and hold these people accountable. Same basic principle applies here. And anyway, well, let's get on with the next topic here, because I mean, I'm pretty sure Rearson is chomping at the bit for this next topic here.
Although the fat dude you're talking about,
yeah,
he freaking has an asthma thing, and he owns an MMA freaking fighting gym. Yeah. And he has asthma. They were showing it on there where he was actually taking his breathing treatment and shit.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
I actually remember that scene now. Yeah, I actually remember that.
It's pathetic.
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, if you have asthma is not very conductive to MMA.
Yeah.
Like, we'll just say that right off the bat. Asthma is not conductive to MMA. But anyway, let's get on with the next topic here. Oh, this one. This one. Holy moly. Okay. I will actually start out at the end right now before I get into all the details of what happened during the federal election leaders debate. Polyev was behind in the polls when the leadership allowed the French and the English language debates took place. After the debates, Polyev is now pulled out front.
Sorry to interrupt. May I make a suggestion? Can you please bring up those four leaders back up again so we can refer to who each one is as a visual reference for anybody that's going to be watching this?
Okay, hold on a second here. Yeah, I'll do it in about 20 seconds.
Okay.
So the whole situation here with this is that, you know, the French language debate, the leader, I can't remember his name, the leader of the Bloc Québécois got in some really nasty shots Blanchet got some really nasty shots in at Carney. Jagmeet Singh, and this is all. We will actually have to do a sidebar on Jagmeet Singh. Jagmeet Singh's conduct during this election has been incompetent, almost to the level where he's actually maybe even trying to destroy the NDP on purpose, so that the Liberals will have a chance. Now, would Jagmeet Singh do something like that? Yeah, I think he would. He's got his pension now. He's probably not going to be coming back as the NDP leader.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So, for Roger's sake and everybody else that is not familiar with the Canadian political leaders, from left to right is Mark Carney, who's the Liberals, and again, red in Canada is blue in America. Pierre Poilievre is the next one to the right. Yves Blanchet, whatever his name is, he's the guy that represents Quebec and Quebec only. He's the one with the glasses. And then the towelhead is Jagmeet Singh. Oh my God. NDP. And they are currently ideologically, well, they were extreme left, but the way that the Liberals were acting before the election, they overtook the NDP in that regard, or at least they stole their platform. My apologies for stepping in, my friend. I just want to provide some context for it again.
Okay, because, yeah, this photo's going down in a second. I'm going back to the regular slideshow here. So the French language debate took place. Blanchet, what was his name again?
Yeah, we'll go with Blanchet, but typically, if there's going to be a hard consonant sound in French, typically it's going to end with an E, but Blanchet's name ends in a T only. So I think it's Blanchet, but I'm not sure.
All right. Oh well, I'm going to go with Blanchet. What? I don't live in Quebec, so it's like, and if Alberta separates, it won't matter anyway. So
did he say blonde? Did he say blonde shit?
Blonde shit? Oh well.
I heard blonde shit.
Blanchet.
That dude looks like he's the guy off of freaking Stargate Atlantis, too. The big freaking grizzly dude that freaking was always tough and rumbling. Remember him?
Yeah. I worked at Bridge Studio when they were shooting Stargate. Yeah, I remember
Stargate
him.
Atlantis, dude. I forgot his name. It started with an R in the show, but that's who he looks like.
Yeah.
I would just say call him the BQ blockade as well. That's easy enough.
Okay, so anyway, the BQ leader got in some really good shots on Carney. Carney had to actually it wasn't so much the debate itself. The only thing about the French language debate that was consistent, and this was all was consistent. I will actually do a thing on Jagmeet Singh during this segment. Jagmeet Singh, and it looks like he's attempting to destroy the NDP, at least in this election, on purpose. There wasn't so much what the actual French language debate did, although Blanchet got in some good shots, and he's definitely swung a couple seats away from Carney. What happened is that Carney has been curating the reporters that have access to him when he's doing his campaign stops. So he has not had to face off against he has not had to face off against like Rebel News or True North or any of those organizations, because the people in his party have been attempting to shield him from it. They did attempt to legally, they tried literally everything they could try to prevent the Rebel and from some independent media and True North from showing up at the French language debate. They, of course, got defeated in the course, but it wasn't so much what was happening at the French language debate. It was the media scrum afterwards. Rebel, True North, and a lot of independent media, I think they probably got together, and they knew that what might happen is that if they waited at the end of the line, that the television hosts might just cut off questions before they got to them. So they actually got Rebel and True North got to the front of the line and were the first ones to ask questions. And of course, they asked Carney some very, very hard questions that Carney was not prepared for, and he clearly was not prepared for. And he stumbled and he gaffed. And that's going to be important when I get to the English language section of this. What happened at that particular at the French language debate was the stuff that happened afterwards. The establishment mainstream media, in particular, this one guy, I believe is from the Toronto Star, literally started yelling and screaming at Rebel media and accused them of gaming the system, and they didn't deserve to be there, and they weren't real media and blah. Oh yeah, it was ugly. Like, it was really, really ugly. And what ended up, and of course, also CBC media, in particular CBC, but there was also a little bit of whining on CBC. Global seems to be kind of like really sedate on this, but CBC openly complained to the debate organizer about the fact that Rebel and True North and the independent media were there, and I'm only going to have to assume is an actual bout of common sense that the organizer of the debate said. It's like, well, we lost the last two lawsuits, and they tried pulling some tricks this time to prevent the media them from showing up, but of course those tricks didn't work, and they had to go to court, and of course they just threw in the towel immediately. I will also point out that the leader of the Green Party wasn't there, although the leader of the Green Party, that might have actually been a good thing for the Green Party. The whole situation there was just like an absolute, it was bad, but what was even worse was the English language debate the following day. Carney, even though he had Jagmeet Singh attempting to interrupt Polyev every chance that he could, Carney just could not come up with anything remotely resembling a good, he didn't have a good quip. Now, if you go over to CTV and CBC and you look at their websites and you look at how they were doing the reviews, they actually kind of downplayed it and said, when Carney said, "Oh well, I'm not Trudeau," and it was like, well, you literally the previous day literally said praise Trudeau, and you said that your values align. So which one is it, right? And it also got pointed out after he said that. And by the way, both CTV and CBC told me that was literally the highlight of Carney's debate was when he told Polyev that he wasn't Trudeau. That was his strongest statement. That was his best combat quip the whole time on the English language side. The leader of the BQ, Blanchette, also got in a few extra shots. Now, again, though, it wasn't so much the debate, although Carney really botched it badly. And again, I'm going to tell you that after the debate, Polyev is back out front. The whole situation is that after the debate was over, and the reporters were all supposed to line up and take questions, they canceled the media scrum. Yeah, they canceled the media scrum.
The excuse being that there were security concerns, and yet they weren't evacuating anybody, but there were security concerns with massive airports. Back to you.
Yep. So there were security concerns. Also, although it wasn't just bad after the French language debates, there was also conflict. Again, some of Carney's people were clearly very testy and very, very angry at what had happened in the debates. And they literally got physical with Ezra Levant. Of course, Ezra Levant is well known. If you try to get physical with him, he will make noise. And that's exactly what he did. In the end, though, it was over 50%. It concluded that that Polyev won the debates. Polyev is now, the two most recent polls have Polyev at a 3 and 4 point lead in the polls. Now, getting into Jagmeet Singh's performance, specifically on the English language side, his performance at the debate was so bad that there's actual speculation, because what's literally happened isn't so much that the conservatives have lost a lot of support. What's ended up happening is that a lot of the support from the BQ and the NDP have just gone running over to the Liberals because, and again, I have to say this, they made a very, very, very specific attempt to try to, then Trump got brought up quite frequently. Nobody, not the BQ, not the NDP, definitely not Mark Carney, none of those political leaders were able to successfully pin down Polyev as being the Canadian Trump. And of course, he's not the Canadian Trump because, you've seen Trump in action and we've seen Polyev in action, and they're not really very similar at all. I mean, they may align a lot more close. Like Polyev definitely probably aligns a lot more closer politically to Trump than Carney does. And Carney is a paid WFEF globalist stooge. There's definitely not a whole lot of, I mean, Polyev definitely aligns with them. Yeah, but Jagmeet Singh is, I think Jagmeet Singh is done. Of course, he's got his pension now, so that's the big thing. He's taken care of. If he never sits in office ever again, it's fine. He's got his money. He's golden, right? To knowingly destroy other MPs' attempts to get elected so that Carney will have a chance, though, that is collusion on a level that answers the question, is Jagmeet Singh a globalist shill? Well, I mean, the way he's been acting in this election, you have really got no choice but to assume that he is one, because he's definitely acting like one. Anyway, yeah, and there's a lot of talk about Trump, but it especially from the mainstream media, the establishment media in Canada, the bought and paid for stooges, right? They were talking about Trump quite a bit. It didn't come up a lot during the actual debate itself, though. And again, right, the conclusion is now Polyev is out front. I don't know whether he has enough to get a majority or not. But I mean, yeah, it's almost, it has a very similar vibe to the U.S. thing where they just like just brought this person in and made them the head of the party, and there was a honeymoon period, and now, unlike where Kamala Harris slowly lost it over about a month, like Carney is just like losing it like incredibly quickly. And in that regard, yeah, you're seeing definitely an overlap between what happened in the Canadian election and the U.S. election. Currently, if you go with the current polls, it would be a conservative minority government. But, it would overwhelmingly be the conservatives and the liberals, and there would only be a few BQ and NDP and Green seats, and that would be about it. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roger.
I don't know. It's kind of interesting listening to you talk about that stuff because I wasn't aware that like Canada freaking separates the French from the English speaking debates. I thought that was pretty interesting to hear. So I don't know. It's like I would think that they would have interpreters and stuff to go through it. I know it's a pretty rigorous process to do.
They have interpreters that will like say what the political leaders are saying. It's not just it's in French, but they have interpreters that are interpreting French to English and English to French.
Okay, so basically the French have to debate against one another first, and then the English have to debate against each other first before they debate against one another?
Well, no. They have a debate in French language first, and then the same four leaders the next day have a debate again, but this time in English.
Oh, that's crazy. That is pretty freaking monotonous. That would drive me nuts having to do that if I was actually involved and having to do those debates. That's even crazier than what I thought.
Welcome to bilingualism for all of its glory. I don't know what else to say.
It's like, have one debate, get it over with. You know what I mean? Let them talk in the language they want to talk, and have translators go and translate for them while they're doing it. They do it at the UN all the time.
The UN is one thing. When it comes to Canadian politics, and you're probably not aware of this, Roger, and it's not your fault, which is perfectly fine.
Oh, trust me. I'm very aware of how crazy Canadian politics is. I've mentioned it repeatedly on your show, okay?
Okay.
I know. You guys are freaking...
Oh, it's...
I don't even know how to explain it, to be honest with you, man. It is that crazy. Like, I even say New Zealand's politics is crazy, but they're nothing compared to Canadians.
Well, the thing is that, and Rocky and I, we've never worked together, but we've lived in the same resort town together. We've lived in the same resort remote village, but at different points in time. Missing each other by about, what was it, about 2 years, no more than that anyway. Excuse me. But the thing is that to secure a majority government, you have to basically, the political parties have to drop down on their knees and suck on the Quebecois cock to try to get them to let you in to do all of that. And it was after the last attempt for Quebec to leave the Federation of Canada that the Bloc Québécois, the BQ, came into existence on the federal level. It was always there on the provincial, but it never had materialized until then on the federal. So technically Canada does have a separatist party at the federal level of politics and representation. So yeah, you want to talk about messed up, it cannot get any more messed up than that. As far as I'm concerned, it's kind of treasonous, but since Quebec has opened up that door, I'm all for Alberta fucking leave all of that. Oh, it's just, oh, fuck me. Again, this is something that I've brought up, and Hiroki has already mentioned this already about the bought-off media.
Sorry, Roger, were you done?
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah, my apologies.
Oh, yeah, I'm done. Keep on going, dude.
Okay, Kelly, go ahead, Rears.
Yeah, so, again, going back to late 2018, when Trudeau, in his infinite capacity of, well, the budget will balance itself, and never fucking did any of it, we'll leave that for another topic of debate, had said that, well, he basically ended up, massive air quotes here, fortifying funding quote, small Canadian independent media outlets to give them as much positive coverage as possible. I'm sorry, folks. You know what to me that sounds like? Oh, I don't know. Oh, could it be control over the media or control over the narrative? Like you would see in, I don't know, North Korea, China, Iran, Venezuela, what would have been Russia at the time as well too. Maybe it still is now. I don't know. I don't really care. And it's just one of those things that are going to say, that's easy. And yes, Rebel News had to sue twice to get access to the debates because they pulled some shit the first time. They had a court injunction. They were able to sweep them the first time, and they pulled it again, and once again it went back to the courts. And Rebel News got access, and independent media for that matter, got access to ask questions the second time around. And the thing is that I think the guy's name is Michel Cormier, and that's Michael, not Michelle as in female, like Obama. Anyway, but Cormier apparently is a stooge for the federal government to begin with, anyway. So, with them pulling the quote security issue was the only card that they had. And the whole thing started after the scrum. No, it started with the pre-scrum with some guy from the Hill News or something like that. It's the equivalent of the Hill in terms of American journalists. And we use that term very loosely. Oh, and let's not forget as well, too, Europe. You might have forgotten this. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. I don't know. But Rebel News had asked Towelhead, what do you have to say about Canadian churches that have been burned down? There have been over 200 of them or something like that. Those have been things of ours. Well, I'm not going to talk to Rebel News. I don't recognize the picture, misinformation, anti-disinformation. So he totally shot himself in the foot in terms of politics. Whether you like them or not, you don't. And then, she was the French journalist for Rebel News, and she asked him another question. And she knew what he was going to say, but it was the driver going home. I'm not going to talk to anybody that I consider to be misinformation or disinformation. So, Canada's a big fucking mess. I don't know how else to say it, except that. And I'm not really proud to be Canadian anymore. In fact, if anything, I'm actually almost ashamed. Yeah, it's the only jackass there with the full facial hair who quote represents the people, but he's got 2 Rolex watches. He has like $2,000 suits. Has been caught coming out of a Maserati at Parliament Hill with his dry cleaner on his shoulder, and he ended up getting the nickname for a little while of, if he's not known as Sellout Sin, he's known as Maserati Max. And it's just, it's a joke. Holy shit.
Yeah, he like just like the liberal leader before Justin Trudeau, Michael Ignatieff. Apparently, he has never been to his campaign office.
Oh, well, that was the other thing as well too. Is that Saint's campaign office in Burnaby, somewhere around Vancouver?
Oh, it's. I know exactly where it is. It's empty, and it's right near Metro. So it's not like he can't find it. It's right on Kingsway. as you're going towards, if you're driving from Vancouver, you pass Metrotown Mall, and the next block over from Metrotown Mall, that is his office, his campaign office that he has never been to.
Oh yeah, and whatever they have there, it's send an email to whatever email address they're going to use as the email address of the day or the week or for its term. So, I mean, the NDP has been bankrupt. They were paying off their election loans from 4 years ago to begin with. So that's another reason why we haven't had an early election, because the NDP was not in any position to do anything. And then there was the cover story or the excuse that there was the Ontario election, a provincial election. There was also the Saskatchewan election. So, they're going to have, campaigning fatigue. Well, you're going to have fatigue if you don't have a fucking platform to stand on it, and they don't. So, it's been a mess. This goes against a lot of what I feel at this point in time right now as to what's happening in terms of the Canadian politics and the Canadian election. I don't want to vote because the system is fucking broken. And the way things are going right now with all of this, with Carney falling from grace, is right now it seems to indicate that Poilievre is, and he's the guy on the left, Poilievre is going to have he'll probably have a minority government, and if you could basically team up with the guy on the right, Blanchet, whatever you want to fucking call him, if those two can basically team up, and when it comes to passing the budgets and votes of confidence, if he can work something out just like Liberals and NDP did, will it work? Yeah, it will. Can it work out? I have no fucking clue.
Well, here's the thing about a conservative BQ alliance. This is the reason why I said anything other than a conservative majority in the country will start to fall apart. Blanchet is going currently the support in Alberta for separation is somewhere between 30 and 37% in terms of the proportion of the population as opposed to Quebec. It's actually almost like there's actually, in terms of percentage of people in Alberta who want to separate or basically align with the US, is actually, in terms of percentages, larger than it is in Quebec. And that Blanchet forms an alliance with the Conservative Party, it will definitely not be in favor of Alberta. And Blanchet is going to have to walk a very, very, very fine tightrope, because it's like, Blanchet is going to have to be exceedingly, and he probably won't be, because he's. Well, don't get me started on Quebec.
Yeah.
But I mean, I could see the BQ being stupid enough to actually inadvertently kill their own golden goose, whereas opposed to Carney would actually just do it.
Well, yes, I completely agree with you in that regard. Which is why I already told you this before too. It's like I'm almost tempted to vote Liberal in the hopes that they actually get at least a minority government, so that finally gives Alberta the excuse to just kind of go, well, what the fuck are we going to stick around in this toxic marriage, because we don't get a goddamn thing out of
it. Okay, well, that makes sense to me. I could tell you I'm probably not voting for the Conservatives. I'm probably just going to vote for the PPC. So,
do what you're going to do, man. Don't get me wrong. And I realize that it sounds incredibly counterintuitive. I want to believe in Canadian federalism, but the longer that I've lived here, having left Ontario, the more I realize it doesn't work, and it never has, and it never will.
You said PPC. What does that stand for?
The People's Party of Canada.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's communism, dude.
No. Don't
They start throwing that People's Party dude around. That's
don't trust me on that. The guy's probably to the right of not probably, he is to the right of Polyev.
Well, the thing though is that Bernier was part of the team with Harper that signed the FIPA, which is an agreement between Canada and China that if there's any sort of thing that either country or people, individuals, feel that they're going to be negatively affected by proposed legislation or whatever, they can sue the other country, and it's done privately. And that is
it's a bad
mess. That is a huge mess. And for me, that's one of the reasons why that I am much more open to Alberta leaving, because if we leave, that agreement was signed with Canada, not specifically with the provinces. So it's going to be a lot easier for Alberta basically just kind of say, yeah, no, fuck this, we're out of this. We're not going to deal with this. So it's yeah, Roger. When I said earlier that when the two of us basically came to an understanding that Canadian politics is a lot more messy than most countries on the planet, I don't think it's an understatement, actually. I think Canadian politics is probably one of the worst that's out there. I mean, we don't have proportional representation, and if we did, well, Canada would still be leaning left anyway, just like Germany kind of more or less is, and there's the EU, and I just want this fucking thing to be goddamn fucking done. I mean, this is the shortest election in Canadian politics because it's at the minimum of 37 days. And if now I end up moving to the States, we're gonna get used to constant fucking campaigning in the US, because if it's not at the federal level, it's going to be at the state level. It's not at the state level, it's going to be at the local level, the county level. So it's just like, oh my god, this is fucking leave me alone. That's more or less how I feel about this whole thing. So am I going to vote? Yeah. Am I going to have to? Actually, I think I'm going to do the same thing anyway. What the hell is that?
That is the girlfriend of. That is the wife of that. That is the wife of Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
Okay, we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Just continue.
Yeah.
By the way,
I'm kind of thinking like a female walrus.
Put her picture up there, and you don't think that little hot freaking dirty girl is freaking worthy of it? Seriously, man, come on,
Roger.
dude.
You're fetish for dirty girls.
Yeah, dude. I mean, dude, dirtier the better. Just get all dirty. Dirty girl.
Oh.
Stop looking at me like that, dirty girl. Those bedroom eyes.
Yeah. I'll leave that alone because I'm not going there, and I'm certainly not touching that.
I'm into Latino chicks or Latina chicks. That's the way they say it, Latina.
Hey, man.
Latina, man.
Hey, you know what? No judgment at all.
Talk Spanish to me.
Whatever floats your boat and makes you happy, do it. Just do it.
Just do it.
Oh, speaking of just doing it, went to see Revenge of the Sith with my son on the weekend, so I was really happy with that. And we're going to go see episode 4 tomorrow in the theater.
Oh, well, they're finally bringing it up to Edmonton next weekend.
Cool.
By the way, you're going to have to let me know whether you're going to be coming up here or not.
Oh, that's another matter. So we'll see how things work out. I'm working on my alternate escape plan, and if it does start to bear fruit, I have to show you anyway, because you need it as much as I do for moving on. Anyway, long story short, like I said, this whole thing with Canada is just a goddamn freaking mess, and thank God Trump has kept his fucking mouth shut this time, because he knows not to step into it, because it's just going to it's going to work out. It'll work out in his favor, because he hates globalists, which is what Carney is, to say the least. Again, we've talked about Liz Truss, former British PM, who has nothing good to say about the man to begin with anyway. So, fuck. We'll see. I'm still debating as to where I'm going to cast my vote. What I'm going to do, I don't know, and I'm leaving it at that. I'm going to have to seriously meditate on that one for about another week. Figure it out, because I still don't know what I'm going to do. Anyway, I got nothing more.
Well, we kind of went a long ways on that one, so I was kind of expecting that. But yeah, let's get into the next one here. Just hold on a second here. Okay. Oh, look at this. All right. Well, this one, we won't be on this one as long, because we did cover Karmelo Anthony last week. More information came out. Well, first of all, he got himself a nice, good old race grifting lawyer who started playing up the angle, held a press conference where the victim's dad actually came in, and security removed him. And then the race grifting lawyer actually had the gall to play victim. They're selling Karmelo Anthony shirts. There's actually been a rap song, which was actually also a very racist rap song that came out. I think it may have been auto-generated, but I don't know for sure. But I mean, the whole thing is just getting worse. Again, right? If you look at the hype, which is exactly what Karmelo Anthony's defense team is attempting to do, they're trying to make this about the hype and not so much necessarily about what Karmelo Anthony has been doing. What you basically come down to, and this, again, more stuff. First of all, it was revealed from the police reports when they got released. Karmelo Anthony, and we talked about this last week, Karmelo Anthony ain't ghetto. Like, he's not ghetto. His dad makes 6 figures a year. His mom, his dad makes enough money that the mom doesn't. The mom actually says so. So he's from a 2-parent household. Now, is it possible that the dad's a serious workaholic? Yeah, that's possible. Is it possible that his dad might be completely whipped and ineffective and just basically being used as a cash cow? Yeah, that's also a very real possibility as well. Bottom line is that he did the incident. He did stab the guy, and he ran off like a craven coward. That was determined. That's what was determined on the last week. This week, more information got revealed. He knowingly brought a weapon to the track meet with him, and he may or may not have done it specifically over this particular guy, because here, first of all, Karmelo Anthony's almost my height. Karmelo Anthony is 6'1", and I'm 6'2", which means that the guy he's pushing around was in all likelihood shorter and smaller than he was. But I mean, he was also, and I don't want to say this, not to disparage quote unquote jocks everywhere, because I mean, it's not just. I mean, I've met some people who with jocks from the athletic background who are actually pretty decent human beings, right? It was From the news information that has come out, though, it looks very much like Karmelo Anthony was egging this guy into attacking him, is what it looks like. And that suggests a very large degree of premeditation. So realistically, if I was on the defense team, like, yeah, you're gonna have to like literally try to micromanage every aspect of the trial, which isn't going to happen because too many people are going to be watching for that to actually occur to any successful degree. But it looks very, very much that if it goes to trial, and it will probably go to trial, just simply based on for one, the way Carmelo Anthony's defense team has been acting and the way they've been playing up the race card in this particular situation, it's just a case of bad timing. People are getting. I mean, I'm not gonna mention the guy's name, but he's been on the show a few times, and he has played up the race card maybe to an annoying extent from time to time. I've been tolerant of it. I definitely don't agree with him on actually more than a few things. But you know what?
Don't get me in the same show when he brings it up, because I will bury him, and it'll be a strained relationship, just like with someone else that I have right now. But
yeah,
out of necessity, somebody has to say something, and I think I'm probably the best person for it. Anyway.
Yeah. Well. Anyway. Yeah. Well, we won't. I'm not gonna name names or whatever. I don't agree with some of his stances, and it's like I don't really want to get into a discussion with it because race issues is not. You want to start talking about the Native American issue? Yeah, I got an opinion on that, but it's sort of like, yeah, no, the black-white thing isn't nearly as big an issue in Canada as it is in the U.S. The whole thing is that if this goes to trial, right, their one serious bet on defense was probably self-defense, and how it's looking is that, it's looking very much like it was premeditated. And if you get past all the hype, if you get past all the spin that the media has been, specifically the media that has been produced by Carmelo Anthony's defense team, I think this would probably be one of those situations where you just better plead out and just get a deal. That would probably be my suggestion on this particular situation, because it's like, yeah, it's it's looking, he's looking at the further along you go, he's looking more and more and more guilty, and trying to play up the race card and trying to hype this thing up into something bigger than what it actually has to be is long term not going to work. Trying to play the victim because the victim's dad wants to be abreast of the entire situation and everything that's been going on there is a bad move. And yeah, like, these moves that they're making would have worked probably about 5 or 6 years ago. Hell, even 2 or 3 years ago. They're not working now because, again, the mainstream media, and this is something that I probably should have mentioned during the debate section. I don't know why I didn't mention it there. It's very, very clear that the mainstream media is getting very, very scared about their position as the people who are basically the soft power, the people who actually influence the opinions of the people watching their shows. And it's very, very clear that they're exceedingly concerned about the loss of power on this. And this is exactly the same sort of thing here, right? Like this type of rhetoric probably would have worked. It probably would have worked just a few years ago. It doesn't work now because the dynamics of the alt media is very different from the corporate press to a great degree. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roger.
Well, I mean, I've looked at it a couple times. I know you mentioned it the last time we were on, and I looked at it before, and it to me it looks like it's a cut and dry case. I just find it pretty just interesting that the person who committed the crime is now being treated like he's somehow a victim. You know what I mean? That's what's the most outrageous part about this whole deal is the fact that now everybody's like, oh, he's being targeted and he's being mistreated and he's just being he's not being treated fairly. The kid frickin' took a knife and stabbed another student in school. It doesn't matter what color that your skin is. It's the fact that one kid frickin' murdered another kid on the bleachers at high school at his high school. And then turn around and admitted it after he did it. And they're like they brought in a civil rights frickin' activist group that's supposed to be representing their son, and this guy starts throwing off all these freaking political crap for spin, saying that conservatives are on the internet making streams that are freaking just completely uninformed, and the only reason why he's doing that is so that he can freaking get sympathy for this kid because he's black. He's playing the race card, like you said, And the fact of the matter is he committed murder. That's what the hardest or the messed up part about it is, the I guess the freaking civil rights group is called Next Generation Action Network, and they're calling them conservative operatives. Who are posting nonstop about this case. Well, it's a serious issue whenever freaking a situation where teenagers are involved and one of them ends up getting murdered. It gets pretty volatile, not just in on the internet, but in real life. I mean, they're damn lucky that his freaking father is being as gracious as what he is, because I know I had a friend, Robbie, whose daughter was taken to an abandoned house and murdered, and freaking he flipped out. I mean, he couldn't cope with it. He wanted to kill that kid, and that kid ended up serving maybe 10 years and got back out and was sent back home after committing that crime. And that sent them over the freaking edge even worse. Um, but he was able to handle it after he got out. But he was, the thing of it was he turned around and he reconciled with it because he was under the understanding that this kid was going to go to prison and serve his time. And I was really amazed whenever freaking he was able to handle the fact that this kid got out and was able to go back home. And the thing that really gets me to when I compare what I just said to this kid right here and these parents talking about these death threats, I think of that kid who committed that crime. His family was smart enough to get the hell out of town and move away. So when you're in a situation where your freaking kid has committed murder in a small area or in an area, community, whatever, you don't stick around the town. You know what I mean? Those people are going to be out to kill him. They're going to be out to kill you. it's time to freaking move. And I mean, that's just my way of thinking about it. You know what I mean? Because that's just the way we are here in my neck of the woods. You might be found dead in a ditch if you stick around for too long. And I'm pretty sure if it's the same way here, it's the same way in a lot of other places. And that has nothing to do with race. That has to do with, you committed a crime, you murdered a kid, and you and your family better freaking duck and hide, plain and simple. So that's all I've really got on the subject when it comes to that.
God, yeah, of course it's good. Of course it's going to be raised. Of course this is going to feed into the victim industrial complex that someone I loved as a friend is more than happy to be part of it, playing on it, or whatever. I don't know what else to say on this one. Again, I've said this before and I'll say it again. It's there are, quote, slavery issues, but this is something that is very fluid because why don't we start defining what a slave really is? Now, I'm of Slavic blood, which is where slave comes from, and that was applied retroactively to events in history, and slavery still exists. In the modern world, in first world countries, or anything with the banking system, you're a debt slave. You're a slave to your house because you're engaged until death. That's what mortgage means. MORT. That's the French word for death or to die. So the expectation is that you were going to die before you would actually pay off the loan for, quote, owning the home that you have, which is not an asset, it's a liability. So I have to put all of that into perspective overall. Now, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. On the Dutch side of my family, I could very well have had a relative, no idea who, and even if I did, who could have been involved in the slave trade. And if that is indeed the case, I'm just going to say this right now. I accept no responsibility for what happened in the past. Because, again, I've asked the question, how far back do you have to go before it becomes irrelevant? Now, that being said, our friend is part of what I believe to have been the modus operandi, or the MO, shall we say, of the Obama administration that's radicalized a lot of the black community into saying that everything that's wrong in the world, well, blame it on the white guy, blame it on the white people. And I would say, yeah, sure, go right ahead, blame it on the whites. But you know what? Don't look at me. Don't look at anybody else that's struggling just as much as you are, because generational wealth can only be split so far before it becomes irrelevant, and it will only go so far before it becomes irrelevant if it's not managed correctly. Now, with this black kid stabbing a white kid, I mean, if it was the other way around, if it was the white kid stabbing the black kid and he admitted that he did it and whatever else, oh my God, there would be a media fucking shitstorm screaming about this, tearing down the family, screaming at the kid, and going after the educational institution, and this and that and the other thing. And I can hear it. I can hear it now. I can see it going on in one form or another in my head, and it would not end well. But because it's the other way around, all of a sudden there's excuses that are being popped up and being propped up. And I'm sorry, but either we live in an equal society or we don't. And to whomever that will disagree with you on this one, go right ahead. Guess what? Don't care. I really don't care. I do my best, and I mean this honestly, I do my best to deal with people on an equal level playing field. And if you're going to be playing on things that have happened in the past or what happened 200 years ago, guess what? I'm not going to listen. Like, I'm really not going to listen. I don't have time for your stupidity. I don't have time for your mockery of being part of being part of the enlightened part of society, shall we say. If you're awake, then you know what's going on, you know the games that are being played, and you're going to do your best to not let it happen and for it to not influence how and what you see is going on. And I don't see that happening anytime soon. And I'm sorry that Obama did his best, and he really did, to bring up racial, that's not even racial, let's just call it for what it is. Differences in skin color, tone, and facial features, including, shall we say, hair. And either you're going to be moving forward and you're going to be playing above the politics, which includes any stereotypes that might work in your favor sexually with women, or you're not. And if you can't get past that, I'm sorry, then you are just as much of a victim of the system that is oppressing you, and you'll try to use each and every possible exploitation point to try to get ahead. And really, at the end of the day, what are you doing? You're just a pawn in the system to keep everybody else at the same level as to where we are, and we don't advance. I just don't have time for these fucking people anymore. So yeah, it's probably a good thing that I can't say this. Well, I won't say this right now in front of them, but at some point I'm going to, and I expect that he and I are not going to be speaking for quite a while, and that's perfectly fine. Love the guy, but someone's going to put him in his place, and like I said, I think I'm the only person to do it. So, as for this whole fucking thing, whatever, like I said, it's nothing but a part of the victim industrial complex to try to keep the flames of, to sow the seeds of division, so that way America and other first world countries can remain divided, because a society that is divided, that stands for nothing, will fall for anything and everything. So that's all I gotta say. Back to you, Rookie.
Okay, yeah, this was definitely this is definitely going to be ongoing. I will definitely say, it is kind of hard to feel sorry or sympathetic for Karmelo Anthony. I mean, like, it's almost as if, like, there's lawyers out there that are specifically waiting for incidents like this, because, like, I mean, this seems very organized and orchestrated. And that's all I'm going to say out on this one. I'm going to just move on to the next topic here, because the next one is actually something that we knew that this was coming. There was a video on Instagram where Donald Trump was specifically talking about education reform and university reform and dealing with wokeism at universities. Now, he has been intentionally, I think, and it probably not by accident, he has been targeting, for the most part, at least so far, he has been targeting the Ivy League schools, Pennsylvania, Columbia, those places. And I mean, Columbia fucked around and found out. They allowed that protest, they allowed that disruption, and did nothing about it. And Trump just went, okay, you know what? Like, you either do something about this, like you start evicting students, or we're going to cut off your funding. And that's what happened. Columbia buckled. In the case of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania was the guy, Pete, was the university that brought you Leah Thomas, that transgender swimmer. Leah Thomas, Pennsylvania had openly said that they were not going to go along with the Department of Education mandates. And they fucked around and they found out. Now, specifically, I think the athletic department found out. Now, in the case of Harvard, again, like, Harvard has got Harvard is, I won't say, a victim of its own success. Like, if you're going to list off the most prestigious universities in the world, Harvard and Oxford are right up there, obviously. And Harvard is like, apparently, Harvard and Yale are apparently like the cream of the crop of the universities, right? Like, a university degree from Harvard is supposed to fucking mean something. Like, it is. It is literally, it's supposed to mean something, right? Just simply getting into Harvard is an accomplishment in of itself. You know, especially some departments, let's say Harvard Medical, for instance. Harvard Law is another one. There's a couple ways. There's been a lot of future world leaders, and that is particularly the reason why the globalists have been targeting the Ivy League universities. That's why you're seeing all of these presidents just engaging in this openly woke bullshit at these universities, and why you're seeing most of the unhinged stuff coming out of the Ivy League schools is because these are the universities that most of the future leaders of the United States generally come out of, is these Eastern Ivy Leagues universities. Like, you will see occasionally a president come out of the University of Missouri, or you'll see somebody come out of even Stanford, for instance, on the West Coast. They've got problems, but the problems don't seem to be as deeply entrenched at Stanford as they do in the Ivy League. And he was waiting for Harvard to make that mistake, and Harvard made that mistake. And when they did make that mistake, when they decide to openly defy Trump and the Department of Education, Donald Trump did exactly. And here's the thing: we're talking about university administrations. We're not talking about stupid people here, at least on paper. These are not stupid people. But, it's just, you take a look at what, like, again, that statement, there's things so stupid out there that only an academic would be dumb enough to believe them. Intelligence in of itself is not an indication that a person is going to have an open mind. Curiosity is more of a trait that determines whether somebody has an open mind or not. I have met some, and we've all met some really incredibly stupid, smart people. I think we're all in agreement of that. We have all met some really incredibly stupid, smart people over the years. And yeah, Harvard is getting hit big time. We're talking hundreds of millions. Actually, I think we might even be talking about billions of dollars of funding getting cut from Harvard. And again, right, there's a lot of unnecessary bloat. There's a lot of unnecessary university programs. I mean, I could get into the corruption that is going on, for instance, in the gender studies area of most universities. I mean, why is there even a gender studies department at most universities? Does just somebody have an answer for that one? Like, why is there? But yeah, Trump, even as much as over a year ago, had specifically said that he was going to be looking and specifically targeting Harvard for their administrative practices. And the fact that Harvard somehow thought, well, we're Harvard, they won't touch us, even though Pennsylvania and Columbia have both had really serious cuts done to them. Because I mean, looking at it from a point of view of, say, a guy like Donald Trump or somebody who's trying to fight globalists right now, I mean, you take a look at what's going on at these universities. These are potentially the people down the line, 20, 30 years, 40 years down the line, that are going to be making the decisions about which way this country goes, right? Like, they need to be educated. They don't need to be going into universities to get indoctrinated. And that's effectively what a lot of the university departments over at Harvard have become. I have seen, and what's going on here is that these graduates out over at Harvard are coming out, and these are individuals with, again, I have to keep saying this, an Ivy League degree is a top flight degree. Like, it's not an absolute guarantee of success, but I mean, like, you will develop connections and things like that. That'll probably take you. Some of the graduates from these Ivy League schools are going to be making the decisions about which way the country is going to be going in a few years' time, right? Like, you don't want ideologues coming out of that system. You need people coming out of that system that are going to be prepared to deal with some of the issues that the U.S. is going to be coming down with. And, oh, by the way, the same sort of thing is happening in Canada with the Laurentian elite universities like York and McGill and that sort of thing. It's just not talked about as much. So, yeah, Harvard fucked around and found out, and they found out that Trump is not going to fuck around. He's not going to find it, and they found out. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roger.
Yeah, it's a good question on why they need that freaking that amount of money, that funding from the government, which they are getting taken away from them because the thing about Harvard is they don't even need to be tax exempt. As a matter of fact, I mean they have. So far, they're saying they have $1 billion or $2 billion that is being frozen from Harvard, and then like 1.5 billion in, I guess, euros or whatever the little funny symbol is for what they use over in England. And this is an elite institution. You know what I mean? Whenever you hear people who are talking about elitists and stuff like that, they're literally meaning elitists, and this is what they're talking about. They're talking about an elitist college that is freaking definitely not in need of any government funding whatsoever. Um, and that's something that really stood out to me. And when I heard it for the first time, I'm like, why are these people even getting freaking funding from the government when they don't need it? I mean, they have exemption from freaking taxes and stuff like that, and they were sitting there talking shit about Donald Trump not paying his taxes. Well, Harvard University apparently is exempt from freaking federal taxes here in the United States. So I guess we need to be talking about that. You know, the same people that are pushing the woke agendas and freaking all of this radical bullshit are freaking tax exempt from paying taxes to the federal government. You know, that's all right though, right? That's not wrong, because they're a university that's teaching students who freaking make more on an allowance than what freaking most people make in a freaking entire lifetime. You know. That's the kind of stuff that really gets my vote about it. Now, the whole thing that I heard of why all this started was because of the protest that took place in the freaking Arabs that were protesting against Gaza, made threats against Jewish students and stuff like that, you know, and that's what was supposed to prompt them. And like I said before, I don't get into this whole thing about Israel and Gaza Strip right now, you know, but to me, I think a lot of that stuff is just kind of like a cover, because another thing that really sticks out to me is the things that are going on right now with Google and Facebook going to court. And it seems really odd that Harvard is like in freaking Trump's freaking range, because that's also the college that Zuckerberg came out of as well. And everybody knows that Zuckerberg was really involved in mine experiments on Facebook too, and he was all caught up into that. And I hear people always talking about how freaking they're so much better on Facebook when it comes to censorship, and I'm like, excuse me, what universe did you come from, dude? They're just as bad as YouTube is, you know, if not worse, but in a different way. So that's one thing that I really do see. They're planning on, or they're currently going into court with Google now, telling them their business too big to fail, and they might have to break it up into pieces and stuff and dismantle it. So I just have this funny feeling that a lot of this stuff has to do with Doge and Facebook and Zuckerberg, because this is his college. This is where he got his education. Like you said, this is where the leaders are freaking born and where they come out of. And these are the kind of people that freaking Harvard's producing. People like Zuckerberg, you know. And he hasn't been the freaking role model for anybody for quite a long time. You know, he's done a lot of things that really hurt freaking privacy laws and stuff like that. And he's had his butt stuck up the government's freaking the government's had their pecker stuck up Zuckerberg's ass, is the way I should say it, where he's just been a freaking puppet doing things for him and spying on freaking people on Facebook and things of that nature, you know. So with that, I agree 100% about freaking Trump getting rid of the exempt status, and also freaking freezing up all of the funds that are going towards Harvard and their research departments and all that. But I also have to point out the fact that this institution, which is an Ivy League institution, by the way, has a fund of assets and endowments it's valued at over $50 billion. So, I mean, that's the whole reasoning behind why I'm saying I don't see why they're getting freaking government uh, funds, or they're freaking even tax exempt, because they've got shitloads of money, man. There's a lot of billionaires that don't have $53 billion in freaking endowments and trust funds. You know, I mean, stop and think about that for a second. That's a lot of money. So with a lot of that, I think that it needs to be done. I always say, you know, if you want to subvert a freaking society, where do you go first? You go to the educational system. You attack freaking these kids before they're, or between the ages of 5 and 20, so that you can subvert them into your way of thinking. And that's what these socialist regimes are doing. They're subverting our young and trying to get them to go after freaking this garbage politics that's being pushed out on freaking society left and right. And that shit needs to stop. I still have my red flags up about Donald Trump. I don't think 100% about him as being a good person right now, with a lot of the things that's going on. But I do agree with him about what he's doing with the freaking Doge, and doing reviews on these institutions, and finding out where the money's going, because so far they've done a really, really good job at figuring out some of the stuff that is nonsense that the government's been pushing out to groups like freaking Harvard, and a lot of all these other universities that are paying students to go out and protest and shit, and busing them to different cities for civil rights movements. And that's basically the best way I could really freaking say it when it comes to all of this stuff, you know, with the whole hostile to American values thing, though. I think that's kind of pushing it with Donald Trump. I don't really, I don't think he could really, you know, get away with that when it comes to constitutional law here in the United States. That's probably kind of overreaching. But at the same time, like this whole shit with the freaking Supreme Court, okay? I'm hearing a lot of these people talk some stupid shit. Like they're actually thinking that freaking the Supreme Court could somehow stop Donald Trump and the freaking executive branch from doing these things. And they don't understand the Supreme Court interprets the law, Congress makes the law, and the executive branch enforces the law. So in order for anything to stop within freaking the executive branch, Congress has to do it. The only thing that the Supreme Court does is interprets the Constitution and determines if these laws are freaking constitutionally legal, and that's it. Their balls got cut off whenever the United States created the Department of Justice, which emulates the Supreme Court and enforces the laws that are put down. But that's basically all I have on the subject when it comes to this whole thing, the diversity shit. I mean, it just makes me sick. That's all I got.
Rearson, you're up.
Yeah, I want to be surprised on this one, but Trump had signaled he was going to be pulling this kind of stuff. Oh, I won't say a long enough time ago, but recently enough that, you know, men are men and women are women, and if you're going to be pushing this trend, this mental illness issue, and you're a college or university or whatever, your funding's going to get cut. And I'm pretty sure that at Harvard they were things like, he's not going to do this. Well, no. Harvard fucked around and Harvard found out. And I think that this is going to be a big, the waves, the ripples in the pond from this one are going to be really big. That Yale and Princeton and I don't fucking know what else is out there. It doesn't really matter. The Ivy League universities had better be fucking shaking in their boots at this point right now, because realizing shit, he did that to them, he'll do it to us. So they're either going to clean up their act and start to show some level of progress, genuine progress, or they're not. And if they don't, they don't. And what I can say, having watched what happens in Canada, is that with the whole tariff thing, tariff war, whatever you want to call it, is that you need to, how did Danielle Smith put it, or the Premier put it? You don't have to take the man literally, but you have to take what he says seriously. And I suppose if there's any person at this point in time that is the most dangerous, it is going to be a second-term president, POTUS, because they don't have to pussyfoot around and to do just enough for their voter base to cross the finish line. And at this point now, again, given what I've seen to be, at least anyway, Trump's positioning that he's not a globalist, doesn't want to deal with globalists, and that's it, end of story. And to me, this is really no different. I mean, I have to wonder how much funding through USAID has gone to the likes of Ivy League universities, much less universities across the U.S., if not community colleges or whatever else the case may be, anywhere that they can basically start to push the whole DEI transgender bullshit onto society. And all it's going to take is just one major player to find out and to be on the receiving end for being, at the wrong place at the wrong time. And my opinion will be is that it's going to be a house of cards. It's going to collapse, and it's going to collapse pretty hard and pretty fast. So if this does not continue, I'll be surprised. So I would just say to anybody listening here, just keep your eyes peeled for whatever else is happening within prestigious American universities, and if they suddenly, quietly, discreetly start to change their policies on the whole fucking bit, then I think that's going to be the start of it. I won't be surprised if he pushes it to. I won't be surprised if universities are going to be under more pressure to have a balance of academics or professors. They're going to be left-wing and right-wing, versus it basically being predominantly left-wing. I mean, he's got 3 years to fuck around with the system. So, who knows? Who fucking knows? I wouldn't be surprised if something like that was going to happen. So, that's all I got, man. Back to you.
You know what I'd rather have, Rurson? I'd rather have a college that taught students, like actually taught them. They don't need to hear and be taught that bullshit. You know what I mean?
No. Yeah, Roger, I completely agree with you. I completely agree. But it has to come down to it being some initial drastic steps that Trump's not fucking around.
All right.
And like I said, if Harvard ends up being the first one and everybody else falls and capitulates, then the initial damage is done, and then he can squeeze harder to get other things that he wants to be pushed through.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, time will tell. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, that's really what I come down to too. Because, like I said, I don't agree with a lot of the stuff that's going on, but at the same time, you just got to sit back and wait and see what happens. Because
Mm-hmm.
Trump does weird shit. I mean, he's almost as weird as Canada, not quite as much, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He's a weird character. So
Yeah. Come up
Yeah,
here.
vote for Trump. He's not as weird as Canada. Yeah,
well,
that's a good election slogan.
I mean, he likes bacon. He said he does like bacon.
Oh, I love bacon as well too. I mean, there's nothing more tasty than. Well, okay.
Oh, there's a lot of things tastier than bacon. I hate when people say that or say that because I know quite a few things that are really, really better than bacon. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I was gonna say, give me one that tastes really nice when I'm going down and I stay down. Perfect. Yep. Yeah, I went there. Yeah, again, folks. Again, standards with the Red Pill Nation Hangout. What standards? We have no standards.
I'm so proud of you, Gerson. I am so proud of you.
Oh, dude, like there's nothing that turns me on more than nice, lightly kind of sweet tasting. We'll leave that alone.
You better be careful. You're going to make all these girls over here in the United States freaking wanting to move to Canada to get a little piece of that Canadian bacon.
Hey, come on up to Calgary. That's all. But no, this is not the time nor the place. Although we are just a bunch of dirty old men.
Yeah, it is. Shit, we're on the rookie show. What the heck, dude? This isn't the place. Are you serious?
Well, I was going to say, I did take a look at that female reporter from CNN. I looked at her and was like, okay, yeah, post-wall, fake dyed hair.
Yep.
She's got the leopard print.
Yep.
That does not...
Dude. Your cocktail waitress in a Dolly Parton wig, okay? That's 100% American freaking dirty girl, dude.
I was gonna say I'm pretty sure she keeps herself shaved, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if she wears no more than G-string, and probably wears black pants or a black skirt, just to kind of keep the fact that she's probably leaking, to kind of keep that concealed, if you know what I'm saying.
No Vera Pep sofa you're talking about, right? Oh, yeah.
Okay, if you need a few moments to yourself, Roger, why?
Oh, I'm done. I thoroughly masturbated to her video.
Did you remember to use Orange Man Bad Hand Balm while you
Yes,
were
I
doing
did.
it?
By the way, yes, I did. Yes, I did. Thank you for reminding me, because that is me endorsing.
CNN?
No. Yellow Man, was it? Or Red Man?
Orange Man.
Orange Man, yeah. Hand balm.
You should have known this by now, man. I mean, how long have you been on the show with us?
It made my hand silky smooth. Silky smooth.
That's right, folks. If you got a Trump issue, Orange Man Bad Hand Balm makes your hand silky.
Now, Sonia said she has never heard the black pants theory.
Oh, okay.
All right. Of course, this is totally has everything to do with Trump pulling the pin on Harvard here. This is totally related to that. So
yeah, totally. I'm pretty sure that I said it right then and there. Is that a woman wearing black pants or a black skirt, if she wants to go commando, whether she's whether she's shaved or not doesn't matter to me. She can basically get away with being ready to be bent over and used and abused or pumped and dumped,
Mm-hmm.
and you wouldn't know it by what color of material is wrapped around her legs or her ass.
Man,
Am I wrong?
You're about to make me pull up that picture of freaking. You gotta take it easy with me, dude. Freaking the wind blows wrong and I'm in freaking trouble. Now I'm gonna have to go back to Vera Tapsova.
Are you wearing silk boxers?
Not yet. Not yet.
Oh, you're a commando. Okay, that's fine too.
Not that I'm gonna find out. I can put those on. I could put those on, but why do I need that when I have orange hand balm that makes my skin soft as satin?
It's not just your palms are going to be silky smooth.
Silky smooth. Yes, that's what I said. I am so sorry.
There you go, Naroki. We'll just give you a couple of more points to work with that one.
Do you have any more suggestions for products that you think is appropriate at this point, Naroki 5?
Oh, well, I mean, tinfoil hats are us, but unfortunately, we've gotten past that point with.
There are no appropriate products with us. Let's just put that out there right now. There are no appropriate products.
There's the Fagwar 6969. Yes. There's tinfoil hats are us. There's the Memory Rock. Oh, there's a few others I'm trying to remember at this point, but
Fagwar.
The biggest the Fagwar 6969.
The Fagwar with the special optional attachments.
What are those attachments, Naroki?
Vibrating attachments for the ladies. A Maga generator.
And one that's purple for certain kinds of.
Yeah, okay. It comes in purple, hot pink, powder blue, and 18 shades of brown. Yeah, like that.
Oh my God! The things
we should almost change this podcast to the something to the effect of the old man who don't give a fuck anymore.
Well, that pretty much goes without saying, dude. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like freaking.
Yeah, Galactic, we're keeping it real classy right now. You're welcome.
She's used to freaking putting up with my crap, so it's like. And freaking Jaffe too. She had to take a vacation because we were just sending her freaking over the hill, man.
Yeah, I know who that is.
Yeah,
I know who that is. Yeah, Galactic. This is
normal for us.
And you wonder why I get a little bit inebriated for the show just because I let it fly. I don't care anymore.
Have fun.
Oh, an uninhibited Rearson is a fun version.
Mm-hmm.
So, are we done here? Or can we move on to the next topic?
I think.
I don't know, man. It's actually, I like this topic. It's really good. Let's talk about the Jaguar Fagwar. Oh, actually, this next.
That's right. The Fagwar 6969 powered electric powered Jaguar comes in hot pink, powder blue, deep purple, and 19 shades of brown.
Deep purple.
It comes with a It comes with the vibrational attachment, lubricated by Orange Man Bad Hand Balm, because it's more than just useful for your hands. And it also comes with special vibrational attachments for the ladies, or for the guys if you swing that way.
She'll like it too.
That's assuming that the lubrication doesn't happen naturally, but that doesn't happen for most guys. Just saying. Oh, and for the ladies. With the optional attachments, we will also happily, once a year, be happy to reseal all of the interior, just in case any unexpected fluids just come out of nowhere. And it will drip dry, and that'll be it, but you never know. Again, we'll be happy to reseal it. The interior of your car once a year. No charge. Because Lord knows you probably did it on anyway.
Just remember to use the Trump memory. Just don't forget to use the memory rock to remember to take your Fagor 6969 in to get it lubed up with Orange Man Bad Handball. And also, while you're doing it, make sure you're wearing your tinfoil hats or us hat, so that you actually remember, and that the aliens won't abduct you and probe you in uncomfortable places while you're sitting waiting for your new electric powered automobile.
Yeah.
Can we move on to the next topic here, or are we going to keep talking about?
I'm just like amazed. Like, this is what happens when you hang out with Canadians.
Oh please, man! You're the most dirty-minded of the three of us.
You got that right.
Not to say that I'm not, but
I know. You're right. You're right.
Can I say something? I do my best to keep things separated.
Okay.
And Galactic, I aim to displease.
There you go.
Unless she's sitting right there in front of me, spread eagle, and she smells nice, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, let's get on with the next topic here.
We better.
Because we've been going on for that one. That was a 16-minute side rant about
anything and
things, anything and everything. Okay, so the next topic here. Okay, this one. Oh, UK Supreme Court. UK Supreme Court. This one will actually probably be a.
Jesus Christ! Fuck! Like, go. I'll mute myself.
No, you go ahead.
Like.
Okay, so mute yourself here because I go first. Remember, unless you really want to go first.
Yeah.
Okay, so with all of the wokeism that has been, with all of basically all the globalist bullshit that's going on. By the way, Canada's probably anywhere, especially if Carney wins the election. Canada's probably only 2 to 4 years away from ending up in the same boat as Britain is right now. Much to everybody's surprise, though, the Supreme Court, in their infinite wisdom in the UK, decided that men cannot be women. They cannot go into female spaces. They cannot compete in female sports. So effectively, the Supreme Court of the UK decided this. So that's the US and the UK Supreme Courts that have ruled this way, which means that if Carney tries to pull this shit in Canada, there will be legal precedent working against him to do it. Because one of the things Carney has said on the election trail is that he was going to, quote unquote, force Alberta to accept the trans agenda. That was something that he actually said on the election trail.
I didn't hear that. Now, pardon me for stepping in here, but because we have the Westminster system, what happens in one Commonwealth country can be used as precedent to every other country that's out there as part of the Commonwealth.
And plus, you're under you're under the sovereignty of the Queen or the King by now. So whatever.
Technically, we're not actually, but that's a whole different topic.
So whatever he decides, if he wants to follow that when it comes to the colonies, then he can actually impose that on you.
Yeah, so
you can try.
Much to everyone's surprise, no, the Labor did not get their way on this one. I suspect, again, right, the trans community is slowly being beaten back. One It's like a slow death, and it was like what Kelso kept saying. These people aren't smart enough to figure out. It's like, oh well, no, we've been exposed. We need to just disappear now. No, they're fighting this tooth and nail all of the way through. And yeah, no, another loss for the trans community, which is good because again, I mean, I'm and as I'm talking as a guy in the manosphere here, right? Women particularly in sports, I mean, right? They have a women's division in sports for a very good reason because they are not physically capable of competing against the men. You do not see cases of women transferring over to compete against men in men's sport because they're not they're not physically able to. It's only going one way. And here's the part that is really particularly galling and irritating about me is that feminists, and this is an actual outright act of misogyny that is taking place here, right? And again, I'm saying this as a guy who's an active member of the Manosphere. Like, I don't think you can get much, like, unless you're an outright, full-blown woman hater, right? I don't think you can get much more misogynistic than deciding that you're a woman because you're too fucking lazy to compete against other men.
But you don't know me very well. I'm a lazy dude. No, I mean, if it would help me get better views on YouTube, I would actually take their survey and let them and tell them that I was gay, just so I could get more views on YouTube. I'm lazy as shit, dude.
Okay, I'm just going to say this right now. I am in no mood nor need to test that with you. Just say.
I mean, it's not that I'm gay. It's just I wouldn't tell you.
Oh yeah, you got the aliens anyway, Rearson. So yeah. Anyway, kudos and victory.
Because it's no fun.
Anyway, Roger, you're up on this one.
Oh yeah, that's great. Okay, so I'm kind of annoyed about this shit and a little bit jealous at the same time. Like, you guys, first of all, don't even realize like how stupid this shit is. Like, they're over in England, they got gender recognition certificates, dude. And they didn't get that from themselves. What they did is they got that from Scottish freaking Parliament, I believe. And that was back in like 2018. So they were handing freaking gender recognition certificates out, and they were doing this shit. You know what I mean? So that they could freaking have a certificate saying that they recognize themselves as this gender. I mean, that's pretty stupid. You know what I mean? And that's what I get at when I talk about this new form of government or politics that everybody's all into. Like, they keep freaking obsessing over bullshit politics, which is stupid. Like freaking a gender recognition certificate. You know, why the hell is that even necessary? It's like a freaking unisex bathroom, dude. I've freaking had a unisex bathroom in my house since I was born, dude. I'm not the only one. Guys aren't the only ones that use that bathroom. If you don't like freaking a unisex bathroom in a public area, make it a one-room bathroom to where one person at a time can use it. It's that simple. You know, but no, they have to take it to the extremes, send it to freaking court, and have all these freaking idiots sitting around discussing, well, how do we resolve this situation? Well, you freaking just don't turn it into a fucking law, because here in the United States, once you make a law, it doesn't get deleted. Okay? They learned that lesson here recently with Donald Trump about the immigration thing. Whenever he pulled up a law from the 1700s about it, they couldn't do anything about it, because even though it wasn't in effect, it was still a law that was created and the only way to get rid of that law is to replace it with something better. Make it better, or frickin' replace it with another law that's better than that. That's why our Constitution and our laws are all codified, is because they can't be deleted. And that's the problem with a lot of people today. They just want to make real fast decisions and turn them into laws, and they don't think about the after effects. What's going to happen 20, 30, 40 years from now? You know what I mean? Let's just make this bullshit freaking law, and then 20 years from now, freaking when it's no longer being used, somebody else could use it for something even worse than what we've got now. So that's some of the stuff that really gets on my nerves when it comes to this stuff. They don't understand what it is that they're doing when they come out with the freaking Equality Act, and gender recognition and shit. Now I'm kind of jealous because this whole thing about freaking changing rooms and stuff like that, man. Like in England, the potential implications could affect like single sex spaces, like changing rooms. Like when I first heard about that, dude, I was like, dude, that means I can go to freaking England, go into a changing room with chicks and get butt naked. You know what I mean, dude? That's so freaking cool. You know what I mean? But now, freaking, they've changed the laws and I can't get away with it. So that really screws up my plans. Hopefully there ain't no trannies in there, freaking, because I don't want no queers looking at my pecker. With that, I'm gonna pass.
Yeah. How lovely for you to pass that comment. And here I come into the next topic. Oh, God.
All right, let's talk about staring at Roger's pecker. Right on. Okay.
You knew that was coming. I mean,
no, I don't want to know that it's coming. I'm just saying that right now. I don't want to know when it's coming. Awkward. Anyway. Oh, fuck. Boys and their toys. That's all I'm going to say in this one. But, like I said, I mean, the fact that it had to. Hi. Joys of being married. That's all I gotta say. God, I hope my escape plan starts to work for me. Anyway. The simple fact that this whole thing had to go to the UK Supreme Court should show how insane and absolutely fucking stupid society has gotten. I mean, I said this before and I'll say it again. There was a clip of a cute little girl. She must have been 5 or 6, I don't know, somewhere between the age range of 4 to 6. And she was with Steve Harvey. And, well, what's the difference between a man and a woman? And she said, the pelvis. And the female pelvis is the only thing that differentiates, generally speaking, between the two sexes, because one can squeeze out basically a grapefruit, the other one can't. So, the fact that it has to be argued in a court of law and it had to go to a country's Supreme Court, pretty much the country's Supreme Court. I mean, within SCOTUS, that's not to say that it doesn't have ramifications across the planet, but rather than it being that, with it having gone through the UK Supreme Court, it's far more reaching. It reaches far more countries than the US doesn't. Now, again, with DJD having been on the show numerous times, and he has said that, what happens in Canada can be applied to the US and vice versa, or what happens in the UK could be argued in the U.S. and whatever else. Again, it's not to say that it doesn't happen, but there's just a lot more weight. There are a lot more countries that are affected by that decision specifically. And within Alberta, which is again where Naroki and I both reside, there was a big push, and when Danielle Smith, the governor, the premier, had put into effect not allowing puberty blockers until a certain age, and gender reassignment surgeries was not available again until a certain age. That really only reinforces the position of to tell Ottawa, whether it's Mark Carney or whether it is Pierre Poilievre or whoever's in Ottawa, to freaking go pound salt or whatever else. Good Lord. Oh, the conversation between Roger and Galactic, I'll just leave that between the two of you. I might read it a little bit later on, but I'm going to leave it alone for now. Anyway, it really is starting to push back against government overreach, and dare I say, it actually starts to justify the position of a certain former U of T professor that had to go down to the States and move to Arizona. I believe that's where he is. Jordan Peterson, because of the persecution that he was having because of pronouns. Like that pretty much shoots that whole freaking boat out of the water. So now that I think about it, that makes actually a lot more sense. I mean, there was the topic of conversation that we had about Jordan Peterson having to leave because the Ontario Psychology Association or whatever the fuck it was, I don't remember exactly what the name of that unofficial government body is, but that also totally undermines their position with it all. So in essence, I mean, this whole thing brings into context that men can be women and women can be men.
Hello?
Yeah, sorry about that. Something just happened that it didn't work for me. Anyway, as I was saying here, is that this whole thing undermines the lawsuit against Jordan Peterson, and it undermines everything about the whole trans thing, where it is in essence saying that men that think that they're women have a mental fucking problem. And the same thing as well. So, as I said, the implications on this are far more reaching than it is on the surface. And if you dive into it and it starts to branch out, kind of like a bullet going into ballistics gel, you're going to start to see that, oh wow, this piece went over in this direction, that piece went over there, and this one, and this whole argument just falls apart. So, I mean, I can think of, well, I know of one quote unquote woman who went out of her way to fire someone because he told her that she had to go to another bathroom because the biological women did not want him there. And she made an accusation and he couldn't disprove it. So he was shown the door, and he was pretty damn cool. He was a pretty cool manager. He was a cool manager being there. But that was it for him. So, thank fucking God, some organization that's recognized around the world, has the common sense to basically say, yeah, if you don't biologically normally bleed once a month, guess what? You ain't a woman. So that's all I got to say on this one. Back to you, my friend.
Okay, last topic of the night. Just hold on a second here. Gotta put. Come on, what's going on here? Okay, there. What the hell? Okay, edit. Okay, so yeah, who is Kilmar Abrego Garcia? Well, the leftists and the Democrats have been looking around because Trump has been, particularly with Tom Homan calling the shots now in that department. They have been very, say, trigger happy, but justified in their position of getting gang members out of the country and getting out of the U.S., which, by the way, every Western country is going to have to do this at some point. They don't want it's like, but they found a guy who kind of fell into that happy middle ground, which is exactly what they were looking for, in the name of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Kilmar Abrego Garcia has been deported back to El Salvador. Now, I look at the guy. He doesn't look like he's very bright. He also probably doesn't look like he was any type of a leader inside of MS-13, but he has the tats. He probably ran with the crowd. Here's the issue, though, and this is something that I had a police officer point out to me back in the late 80s, and I actually had to point out to somebody at a store that I worked at when I was doing loss prevention in Vancouver at one point. Gonna go into story time here. Now, back in 86, 87, 88, I was living in East Vancouver. I was down around by Commercial Drive. There was a billiard hall near Broadway Station that I used to hang out at quite a bit because they had a nice selection of arcade games, and I was a video game player, right? So I would go do whatever I got to do, and then I would take the bus to, it was called Lusitana, right? And I would take bus or the SkyTrain to Broadway and Commercial, or Broadway and Victoria, and I would spend an hour or two in this particular arcade, in this particular billiard hall, and I'd go to the back and I would play the video games for an hour or two, right? And then I would go home, right? The only problem is that this particular pool hall had a criminal element, that they had a gang that worked out that would meet up there from time to time, and they had a criminal element that would be hanging around in that area, right? And I wasn't. Some of the people that hung out with them were people that I knew, people that I had gone to school with in Vancouver, right? So it was like I would see them, I would go up to them and go, hey, how's it going? Blah, 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 right? I would even sometimes go and hang out at some of the parties that they would go to. I would never use, but I mean, I'd kind of like, it's like these are people that I went to school with, right? So, I mean, I would be friendly with them, right? It didn't really matter to me. This is the same sort of thing that happens with a lot of people with the HA, with some of the people in the HA, which I believe Rearson may have encountered, but I encountered them in Banff. The guys that I met that were Hells Angels in Banff, as long as you were civil with them, they were civil with you, right? Like, I mean, I saw no reason to be antagonistic towards them, right? I wasn't doing business with them. I wasn't running drugs for them. I wasn't doing anything like that. We just happened to be at the same place at the same time. There was this one female police officer though. And I wasn't with them, but I was in the vicinity. And because I was in the vicinity with them, right, every time she saw me, she would check me, and she'd get out of her car, and she'd make me produce the ID, and she'd run my ID every single fucking time. And it was at least once a month, sometimes twice a month, that I would deal with her. And finally, just before I left and moved to another part of the city, I finally just lost it with her. It was like, what is your fucking problem, right? Like, we do this at least once a month. You never find anything. Like, what is your fucking problem? And her response is, well, no, you're right. You know what? Like, I run you every time and you're clean. But you know what? The people you hang out with are not like that. Right? And I see you hanging out with them. And that was her justification. Now, was he doing some stuff that was illegal? Probably, but he wasn't like a hardcore criminal, or at least it didn't. So, but unfortunately, the people who hang out with were. So he got caught up with them, and he got his sorry ass got shipped off to El Salvador, and he was just one of those guys that was just kind of borderline, right? And he was a perfect person for the Democrats and the leftists and the globalists to circle the wagons around and demand that he be brought back he be brought back in. The only problem is that the guy wasn't a hardcore criminal, but he still had a criminal record. And this woman here is his wife. Now, they tried to play this guy off. That's the reason why I have her photo up here, right? This is his wife. And it turned they were trying to play this guy off as just an innocent bystander who was da-da-da-da-da. And then, of course, then you started seeing the tats. Then you started finding out some of the people that he was allegedly hanging out with. And he wasn't necessarily a top guy, but he was with them, right? Then they tried to play this guy off as sweet and innocent. And, of course, people started doing some digging because, of course, the Democrats and the leftists just cannot back the fuck off, right? And lo and behold, they find out that this woman that you're seeing on the screen right now had filed at least one restraint order filed against him for violence against her. So he was a domestic abuser. Now, they actually brought, again, the mainstream media brought her in and did the interview. And of course, surprise, surprise, surprise. You know what? Guess what? That whole thing about her filing a restraining order against him, yeah, that just kind of disappeared, right? She totally forgot to mention it, and she wasn't going to mention it, except, of course, the alt media brought it up. And it was kind of hard to dance around. And then they're once again, right, the mainstream media's attempt to stunt everybody into thinking that Mr. Abrego is somehow a innocent victim and not violent and whatever. And again, right, speaking from a guy in the Manosphere and having listened to some of the stuff that Aaron Pitsey, who actually was, if you don't know who Aaron Pitsey is, she was one of the women that started the first domestic abuse shelters in Britain. And what she started noticing is that the pattern of domestic abuse runs contrary to the Duluth model, right? Like, a lot of the times, like, the women will engage in domestic abuse, but what they will do is the type of domestic abuse that they will get physical, but a lot of it is just like the nagging and the yelling and the screaming and the passive aggressive stuff and the manipulations and the irresponsibility and all of those other things, right? And they, because they live with this guy, they know exactly which buttons to push. But she didn't mention any of that, nor did she mention the fact that she had filed a restraining order against this guy. So he is not sweet and innocent. But here's the thing. They actually had Democratic congressmen fly down to try to get this guy to send back. The mainstream media has been trying to play this guy up as a poor family man just trying to look after his family. But he's not. He's not innocent. He's got the tats. He was hanging out with this crowd. Regardless of whether his ex, the woman you're currently seeing on the screen here, and I'm about to go to the Red Pill Nation. I'm about to go to my logo here, but that woman, the woman you just saw on the screen there, was pushing his buttons, which caused him to overreact a couple of times, or not. Bottom line is that she filed the restraining orders against this guy, so he is not the sweet, innocent puppy that the Democrats have been trying to play it out to be. And here's the thing, right? Just like what we've been seeing consistently through most of the stories that we've been seeing tonight, there is the version that is being brought to you by the mainstream media, and there is a version that is being brought to you by the alt media. And these two versions are quite clearly in conflict with each other. Now, did he deserve to be deported? Well, you know what? Maybe you shouldn't have gotten the tats, dude. Maybe you weren't that active in the gang, but you were fucking there. Right? And unfortunately, because you were there, you got caught up with them. And it's like, and as I said before, right? And again, I'll go back to another story that I did with this one when I was working loss prevention at the store in Vancouver. And there was this one Asian kid that kept coming into the store, right? He never stole anything. He never did anything wrong. He never misbehaved. When he came in by himself, he was always well behaved. Unfortunately, half of the time or 2/3 of the time, he would come into the store with somebody that would. As a consequence, every time he came into the store, the employees at that store would look at me and would expect me to follow him around, and I would have to do it, even though I knew he wasn't going to do anything. And he said the exact same thing to me, and it was like I had to give him the same explanation. It's like, yeah, I know you're not going to steal anything. I know you're probably innocent, but the people you come in here with are doing that. And because they're doing that and you're hanging out with them, you're guilty by association. Nothing personal, but I've been told to keep an eye on you, and I have to keep an eye on you. So we can walk and talk, or I can follow you at a distance, but you're dealing with me in one form or another. And yeah, you know, he didn't respond. He didn't get angry with me about it, just like I didn't get angry with that cop after I snapped at her the first time, right? Because to a certain extent, they were justified. I was justified. That female cop was justified. And Tom Homan and Homeland Security were justified in doing what they were doing. Right? You don't want to get caught up with these guys. Don't fucking hang out with them. Right? This is what happens. Now, is he going to come back? Maybe. I don't think so, though, because he's not an American citizen. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Roger.
Well, I mean, this one is kind of messed up, to be honest. Like, he was being accused of being an MS-13 gang member, but the Trump administration has yet to prove any or bring any evidence to show that.
Well, again, right? He probably. I wasn't a gang member when that female police officer kept harassing me, but I was there.
Right, and that was uncalled for on her part, not your
Oh,
part.
absolutely, it was. But
You
I mean,
know,
again, right?
another thing that gets me about this is, well, there's two things actually. First of all, he's an illegal alien. A lot of this things about illegally removing him from this country is bullshit. If you're an illegal alien, the government has every right to remove you without any type of justification. That was the way
Absolutely.
that was the way it was. But this other thing too that is kind of interesting, like withholding of removal status. Where did this guy end up getting the withholding of removal status? I mean, I think that needs to be made public too, because um, my whole point on this is, did he actually deserve to have this status so that he couldn't be freaking removed from the United States, and what was the circumstances behind it? Now, I could understand if he was working with freaking, United States in a operation or something to concerning this gang or something, then that could probably cause his death. But it's not becoming public knowledge of why he has this withholding of removal status, which is actually, it is a rare alternative to giving somebody asylum in the United States. So that kind of makes me wonder, why exactly was he granted this freaking status for, because it's rare, like the news has pointed out in a lot of cases, and I actually checked into it, and it is pretty rare to get that. So, and the weird part about it is, it seems like nobody really has any idea, in my opinion, of how he came about getting this status. What was involved in that. Um, because freaking, I haven't heard anybody mention the reasoning behind that as well. Because people don't just freaking come into the country illegally and then freaking get a freaking get something like this. So that really raises questions for me there. I really don't like getting involved when it comes to a lot of this immigration, because it brings up some horrible things, and I'm real cautious when it comes to these supposed conservatives here in the United States, because a lot of people who claim to be conservatives are really national or socialists. They're national socialists, and after Trump got into office, you started hearing them talk some pretty evil shit. I've heard people saying freaking, that they want freaking illegals in the United States freaking dead just because they're freaking illegals. You know what I mean? Everybody who apparently is an illegal and from freaking South America is running around raping people's children, and the statistics for rape in freaking the United States when it comes to illegals is only like 200 incidents that's happened in the last 5-10 years. And I guarantee you, Americans have raped more freaking women in this country than what illegal aliens from South America has. So you have this freaking socialist freaking propaganda that's being pushed onto the people, and they're freaking feeding into it, because you got people who just live off of, hey, if you don't believe me, go on to these streams and listen to these people talk to one another when it comes to politics.
Oh, I've encountered them. They're all over the place on
Yeah.
Gab, and there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them on BitChute as
Mhm.
well.
And that's
Yeah.
the thing. That's the thing that I'm really cautious about when it comes to that. And you got to kind of look at this stuff and realize that freaking a lot of it is very, very unhealthy, and you really don't know how a person is until they get what they want. You know what I mean? Um, all during the time that Donald Trump was running for office, these conservatives would get on here and talk all this freaking great stuff about how great it's going to be when Donald Trump's in office, and we're going to get stuff done. We're going to get stuff done. And now all of a sudden we're talking about freaking sending not only illegal immigrants who could possibly be criminals to El Salvador, but now we're talking about sending American citizens who are legally here, born in this country, to freaking a foreign country, to an El Salvadorian prison, which is way, way freaking insane. I mean, that's just completely freaking uncouth, okay? For anybody to imply that an American citizen should be shipped off to a foreign country for prison. And that's where, for me, I draw the line on it. You know, that's where you cross the line. But like I said, I'm going to sit and I'm going to be patient. I'm going to watch and see what happens with this administration. But this is like right on the brink of neo-Nazi, in my opinion. This whole situation with the immigrants and what's taking place, it could go in a wrong direction really, really quick. It's right there on a fine line where freaking we could go in a bad direction if this isn't watched and taken care of quick. That's all I
Well,
got.
they do have to do something about the illegal problem in the U.S. That's the other thing too, though.
It's not as out of hand as what everybody's making it out to be. It really isn't. Now it's all just freaking. It's all freaking glamour. It's propaganda that's being pushed on the public by these political groups. Um, we've had immigration issues since freaking the United States was conceived. It's been that way freaking all the time. There's been no up no, or more numbers of illegals coming across that border than what there was back in the 1980s. And the only reason why we're getting more numbers is because the freaking immigration freaking policies are a lot more efficient now. Now they're actually making documents of all of the immigrations that are or illegals that are coming across and being apprehended. Back in the 90s, they didn't have shit for freaking documentation when it came to that kind of stuff. So they've been focusing more on trying to keep records of it. And now they have better records, but it's been the same. I mean, the only thing that's different is they're actually recording what's going on now compared to what they were back in the early 2000s and before. You know, so that's another thing that freaking needs to be pointed out. This is some crazy shit. And if you look at England, and you look at freaking Canada too, and you look at New Zealand, and you look at Australia, they are all talking the same freaking propaganda. You know,
Well, I will say that the immigration problem, in terms of actual proportion of the population in Canada, is actually worse than the situation in the U.S. If the U.S. was dealing with the same proportional issue that Canada is, the U.S. would be getting like 7 million immigrants
well,
a year.
we're gonna get more because according to you and freaking Reardon or Rurson, we're gonna get a whole shitload of Canadians coming down here and repopulating our country too.
Oh no, they'll just. I mean, I live in Alberta. Alberta will just separate and it'll become a state or something like that. Anyway, Rearson, you're up.
Yeah, I was going to say, the worst that's going to happen to America if Alberta invades illegally into the U.S., it won't take very much for us to assimilate. I mean, honestly, it really wouldn't. And you'd have a lot of people that would be, honestly, pretty damn grateful to get away from the insanity called Canada. But anyway, with this guy, it really is a case of, is it a case of being at the wrong place at the wrong time? I don't know. I mean, I was looking him up, Let's see if I can go back to this again here. Kilmar was born citizen of El Salvador, illegally deported to the U.S. March 15th, despite a 2019 court order barring his deportation to El Salvador due to fear of persecution. He was imprisoned without trial in the Salvadoran maximum security terrorism, whatever. Was born in 1995, somewhere Las Nogales, El Salvador. If I'm butchering the name, I don't care. Helped his family run a business making pupusas. I don't know what the fuck that is.
Pupusai? What did you say?
Pupusai.
Pupusai.
Pupusas. I don't know what the fuck is that?
Pupusas. Oh my god. Pupusas.
Making poo-poo sauce. Okay.
Oh, it's a food.
One of the secret ingredients, the reason why Orange Man hand balm is so silky smooth is the poo-poo sauce.
Oh my god. Yeah,
Good lord.
Farmed by the brave, noble farmers of El Salvador.
El Salvador pupusas.
3 cups of masa harina. It's a wheat. 2 teaspoons of salt. 2 3/4 cups of warm water. 1 cup of mozzarella cheese. It's a food. That's all I can say. It kind of looks like it could be like a dumpling. I don't know. I'm not familiar with Central American cuisine. I'm probably never going to ever be, unless she's got nice head titties and she will blow me every day and whatever else. Anyway, that's fine.
Just,
Yeah.
just
Large breasted Latino women are definitely always on the menu. You know that. You see me with a couple of them.
That's right. Make sure they shave the freaking mustache off too.
Yeah, but once you start shaving the mustache, it never goes away.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Never mind. I'll shut up now.
Yep. So he and his family received death threats and were extorted by the local gang Barrio 18 in March 2012. When he was 16, he illegally crossed the border near McAllen, Texas, moved to Maryland to live with his brother, a U.S. citizen. I'm sorry, but technically that's the issue right there. Like it started off a long time ago. In 2016, he met his wife, Jennifer, that son Randwell, a U.S. citizen. They had a son together in 2019. Yeah, I can see where this is going to be a bit of a problem here, because that could very well easily be seen as that's going to be the
Well, he's falling into that happy little gray zone, which makes him politically exploitable.
Yeah.
Is what's going on.
Yeah, on both sides of it. But I mean, at the end of the day, he crossed illegally. He knew what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
16. Is he an adult? No. But most people, when they are growing up, they have a sense of what's right and what's wrong. And he knew what he was doing was wrong.
For years.
Yep. And then to find a woman who will marry him and whatever else, and she pops out a kid, that just makes it even more questionable, to say the least. I was told by a friend, if I was to find a woman south of the border, and if I was to marry her and whatever else, it would take about 10 years, because U.S. immigration is dealing with hundreds of thousands of cases. And for me to become a U.S. citizen through that manner, it would take, currently saying it would take at least 8 years.
No. As soon as you get married, the certificate automatically makes you
I've got my green card and whatever else, but I'm not a U.S. citizen automatically.
What you do is you marry her and you have sex with her, and it's conjugated, so it's official. There's no waiting. That's it. That's the way it works.
I just need to find a woman kind of like Jade Cush, and I'd be fucking happy as hell. But, that's another story. But I'm not going to do it in that regard.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I mean, I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
And given the overall insanity of how American women seem to be on TikTok and everything else along those fucking lines.
Well,
I'm
we
not going to
we can we
I'm
can
not,
dress you up before honeymoon. We can put you in leather chaps and stick a ball gag in your mouth for you.
with the assless chaps.
It's like give you freaking a security word. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, thanks. I'll pass.
Well, you can't give you a security word because you really like that mouth gag. Like freaking take the mouth gag.
Roger, fuck off.
I ain't shit.
Politely, but just fuck off. Anyway, all right. So yeah, he met his wife, Jennifer Vasquez Sura, had a son. 2019, immigration judge denied his request for bond, claiming that he was a verified member of MS-13, the U.S. designated terrorist organization. His lawyer denied the allegations, contested the evidence presented by the government. April 10th of this year, ruled that the Trump administration must facilitate his return from, but the administration has continued to release information painting him as a violent gang member and human trafficker. Could very well be happening. I don't know. I can't verify that one way or the other. Would it surprise me? No. Oh, good lord. Jeff Bezos, Blue Origin's fake as fuck. Oh, good god.
I thought that was on the television for a second.
Oh, fuck me running. Katy Perry. I'll leave that one alone. Anyway. Yeah, so the land whale Jennifer Sura pleaded for her husband's return outside of the Maryland court where her status through his case was held. The day after, the Department of Homeland DHS released a copy of civil restraining order filed by his wife in 2021, accusing him of violence, but Vasquez clarified that the situation was resolved privately and the marriage grew stronger. Yeah, I have to wonder how much she's been paid off to do all of that. Like, it's just how a lot of questions are going to have to be asked. April 17th, Democrats Senator Chris Van Hollen, good God, flew to El Salvador to lobby for Garcia's release. He met with him on the 18th and reported that Garcia described being traumatized by his time at the high security prison and has since been moved to a different detention center in Santa Ana where conditions are better. Take that with a grain of salt. I'll give you a fucking ton. Anyway, case has become a political flashpoint with Democrats viewing it as a constitutional crisis and the Republicans using it to highlight issues of illegal immigration. I'm sorry, but I'm leaning more towards illegal immigration. We don't know what this is all about. I mean, both sides, let's be honest here, folks, both sides are not saying the whole fucking picture. And even if one is, there's enough doubt from the other side to be calling all of it into question anyway. So, do I believe him? No, I don't. I'm sorry, but I just don't. I mean, I think a lot of this could be resolved if the NSA's log activity of him was to be brought public. So this is going to be emails and texts and phone calls and everything else that can be directly associated to him. So his Gmail account or his fucking Hotmail or whatever it is that he would have in El Salvador or in the US or wherever. Just here it is. Here's all of the evidence. You guys fucking figure it out. You go from there. But the problem is that would actually cause the justice system to be responsible and actually have to actually do something for once. So I don't see it going in that direction as much as I would like to. Heaven forbid people actually have to fucking work for them for once in their life.
One thing though that I do have to say with this whole situation is the
Mhm.
whole lawsuit thing.
Yeah.
Now, here in the United States, a lot of people hate hearing shit about lawsuits. They think it's a horrible thing, but that's actually one of the actual rights, constitutional rights that citizens here have is the right to be sued and to sue. So even if you don't agree with like some of the people that are making these lawsuits, you have to understand that freaking they're actually freaking doing something when it comes to the Constitution. You know what I mean? The idea that people actually know, man, if you have a grievance with the government, sue them. You know what I mean? You might not freaking get your lawsuit going through, but at least the process is being made, and that's one of the very few things that people have a right to do in this country. And I don't care what your belief systems are, what your ideology is, but it's a good thing when people are actually taking their grievances to the government with lawsuits and saying, "Look, this is my problem," and then letting the government frickin' hear them. So in that aspect, there is a lot of good things that are taking place. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I
Yeah,
mean,
like I said, the
you,
NSA
you
has.
inspired me to say that, by the way.
Yeah, no, cool, that's great. But like I said, though, I mean, at the end of the day, the NSA or whoever else, they have a lot of information on. They pretty much have all of our information on all of us, and if all of that was to become available in court cases like this, would it slow things down? Yeah, it would. But I think that the longer term benefit would be is that you'd have less people pulling the shit, thinking that they can beat the system where they are putting all of their information out there on Facebook or Twitter or with phone calls or with text or with email. And they can gather it all up and just kind of say, yeah, everything with Rusin, here it is. And then you can figure that out.
Yeah.
Gay as a fox? I'm not gonna ask.
Well, I mean, I was responding to her. I went ahead and added on to that gay as a hungry.
Gay as a hungry
Oh, okay.
homosexual at the back door of a hot dog.
He just wants to get stuff just the right way.
You know it. I forgot where I heard that saying, but dude, ever since I heard it, I love it, dude. It's like about as gay as a hungry homosexual at the back door of a hot dog factory. And that's how
Again, folks, here at the Red Pill Nation Hangout, we have absolutely no fucking standards. Oh, good lord. Anyway, I'm just going to end my whole point on that rather flaccid note, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Just thank you, everybody. I just have one quick. I actually totally forgot I was going to do this at the start of this show because I have a hate watcher. Consistently within about 24 hours of me
What?
posting up.
No.
Yeah. I have a feeling I know who it is too. Same individual who occasionally goes on the MGTOW TV and downvotes multiple videos of mine, or
Oh,
goes on Odyssey and does drive-by posts or whatever. I've got an actual true blue hater out there. So this message is for the hater. In case you still are on the are watching the show, I guarantee you'll have much more to be mad about with me. To just be patient. And I know. It really pisses you off now that you can't just go over and mass report my shit over at YouTube and get me taken down. I know you're angry about that. All I'm going to ask is that both Rearson and Roger just remember to upvote this to make sure this guy can't screw up the potential algorithm on this. I ain't going to stop being me.
A repost. Remember, if you guys want, or if you want to support Naroki, repost as well as making the share in likes and stuff, because that's really helpful.
Yep. So anyway, that is it for tonight.
And Naroki is sexy as freaking shit, dude. He is like the hottest dude on the face of this planet.
Once upon a time.
And he's got the really soft, smooth, silky skin.
Yeah, the silky skin.
On the palms and anywhere else that he has to.
I guarantee it's more than just his palms. It's more than just his palms. I guarantee you.
Oh, good.
Got that.
Okay. Yes, the Red Pill Nation Hangout. One standard, no standard. Okay, everybody. That is it for tonight.
I get that skin that glistens in the sunshine coming up out of the water.
It glistens in the moonlight.
That's the reason why you listen to us, Galactic, is because we just get off on these tangents and we're just entertaining as fuck when we do.
Right choice of words. Just say it.
Okay, but yep, to my hater, don't worry. I have so much for you to be mad at, so be patient, be happy. Actually, in your case, you're probably not very happy anyway, but just wait. I'll offend you some more. But that is it for tonight, folks. Just remember to like, support, share. I will be around for 437. And yes, now that I'm not working out remotely anymore, I might have time to actually do 2 videos a week. We'll see. But for now, that is it for tonight. Thank you very much for showing up. And I will see you, I guess, next Sunday for Red Pill Nation Hangout number 437.
Later.
Later.